Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we shall make an update on some of the orchids you guys wanted to see, but also some orchids that I wanted to show you and I didn't get to. We made that video about my new setup and I thought I could include some orchids, but it was way too long. Alrighty, so let's take a few orchids that were requested and then we'll take a look at some orchids that I see are doing something. Okay, so let's start with the Phalaenopsis speciosa. I think somebody asked me about it recently. As you can see, she's already being transferred, and this is because I discovered quite a few root tips damaged. I did notice that my Phalaenopsis species, or the summer bloomers, really did not like those clay pots. Whenever they touched, yeah, not so good. So that's why I decided to repot it. As for the orchid herself, she is actually doing okay. She's growing a new leaf. The flower spikes are on pause right now. It's not the season for her to bloom, but she did develop a third flower spike right here. So we'll see in the spring if this orchid decides to start blooming. I'm really curious to see if there's any difference between the tetraspis C1 and the speciosa. I did have the tetraspis, I lost it, so we'll see how the speciosa looks like. If they're different, I will definitely buy the tetraspis C1 once again. Alrighty, another update request is on my Miltoniopsis. Now I didn't manage to transfer many of them. I wanted to repot them, but then I had the issues and I decided on a new setup, so they've been paused. But they're not sitting around doing nothing. So for example, my red tide is growing another flower spike. Nevertheless, she will get transferred. She will be repotted. And this is the one that I've actually repotted. First, I had it in my older setup and I put those leca beads on top and I noticed the damage. So I decided to transfer it to my new setup and I already see a tiny new root tip developing right there that is not getting damaged anymore. So that is good news, but yeah, this is a recent transfer. As for the others, they will be transferred pretty soon. I will repot them. The flowers are spent. There's really no reason to keep them like that, but I just wanted to wait a little bit more just to figure out my new setup, see how it's going, draw some conclusions and all of that before I go ahead and mess around with the Miltoniopsis. You know, they're fragile. But I think I'm settled on something, so these guys will be potted or repotted pretty soon. Now there is another Miltoniopsis that I will show you, which sadly is not doing all that great. Okay, so this is a Miltoniopsis that had that weird shape. I didn't want to purchase it, but it was kind of the last one. It was in poor condition anyway. I potted it up and then I noticed that the orchid was shriveling, so I really didn't know if it will do anything and I really kind of needed the medium, so I decided, you'll see I have a few more. The orchids that I'm not sure if they're ever gonna be okay, I just have them in jars. No point in spending medium and then figuring out they're not gonna make it, then getting the medium, boiling it and so on. So I'm just keeping them bare rooted and see how they do. And actually I have some good news with this one. Let me focus. I see a root developing right there, which is nice. So I think I will pot it up maybe in a week or so because I just want to see how this root is developing, if this orchid has enough energy, but I will pot it up pretty soon and hopefully she will make it. But yeah, this orchid didn't have any viable roots and I'm actually not keeping my hopes high for this one. That's why she is in a jar and not potted, simply for functional reasons. But I think she has some chances. Why not? That root tip is great news. Okay, the next one you guys wanted to see was the Oriental Cymbidium that I received when in winter or fall last year. Well, he's not really doing all that great. When I received it, it really didn't have a good root system. It had a flower spike which managed to open a few flowers, but then it faded away. The orchid didn't have energy for the flowers. And as you can see, some of the leaves are already starting to shed. It's on the oldest pseudobulb, so maybe that's okay. This orchid didn't do much. Actually, it did pretty much nothing. I see no new growth. I will unpot this Cymbidium and see what I have inside. I don't suspect I have many good roots, if at all. If I do, then it shall be okay, but for now, nothing. I kept this orchid rather dry during winter time. They are supposed to have a drier kind of rest, but then I thought about the medium, the clay starting to absorb moisture from the roots, and I thought, oh, maybe that's not okay, so I'm keeping the medium just a little bit moist. Just slightly damp, actually. It's not wet. But yeah, I don't know. I will need to unpot this orchid and see what's inside. For now, he still has his leaves. Pseudobulbs are not necessarily the shrivelest of the lot, but yeah, he's not really doing anything at the moment. And we'll see if I can do anything about it. Not entirely sure of its future, which is a shame. But yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you up to date. Okay, now the Lycaste or the Lycaste type orchids that I have. This is my Ida locusta, and the new growth that she had really has taken off, and she is actually maturing here. But this orchid decided to grow this second growth it had as well. It was a tiny little nubbin when I received it, and it's grown quite a lot. And since it was starting to produce new roots from this growth, I thought, well, it's now or never to transfer it, and I've transferred it. And the roots have actually taken pretty well to the move. They were not disturbed. Just unplucked the orchid from her old pot and put it in this pot. And pretty much that's it. No drama there. But yeah, she's doing quite well. And yeah, this growth didn't catch spring or summer and the warm season and the bright season to grow. So I'm not expecting to be very big, but who knows, maybe this growth will look a lot better. And the second Lycaste that I have is the aromatica. You can see it there. She's already dormant. She's lost all of her leaves, well, almost all of her leaves, and she's in the dormancy period right now. New growth will start in the spring, so until then there's really no point in overwatering or anything or fertilizing in any way. The pseudobulb is plump. I never actually cut the old flowers, shame on me. But yeah, the pseudobulb is plump, he doesn't really need water. When the new growth will start, I will start watering it as well and pretty much transfer it before it starts to produce roots. But both of these Lycastes are deciduous, so they're supposed to lose their leaves once a year, that's okay. They're supposed to start new growth in the spring, but this one, maybe she was a little bit off season. This new growth though is pretty much on time, this one, not sure, but she is developing okay as well. Okay, now time for some other interesting updates. Not entirely sure if you requested them, but I find them interesting. And yeah, let's see how other orchids are doing. So this is the Zygopetalum. It's not dead. That's good, right? So this growth is developing. She's not mature just yet. And I noticed something. What is that? So it was growing kind of in between the sheaths. As far as I know, Zygopetalums produce new growths from the outer edge, the outside of the pseudobulb. This one was in between the sheath. I removed the sheath and there he was. Now at first I thought, oh my god, it's a flower spike, but no, I don't think it's a flower spike. Why it grew there, I don't know. Why it grew while this growth was still maturing, I don't know. But I don't think it's a flower spike. It's something. It does something. But this guy, really, I don't have expectations. I am actually expecting him to die any moment now. You know me and Zygos. But yeah, he has another new growth there developing. I did not expect that one. That's why she's on the side. But this guy will get repotted. No worries. And I shall not disturb the roots. But as for this one right here, why? Why do you do this? Is this a new growth? Is this the potential flower spike that she'll never develop? I don't know. I cannot say I ever saw how a flower spike looks like on a Zygopetalum because none of them ever bloomed. They died before they did that. But yeah, this is the story with the Zygopetalum. He's not dead, which is good, but he's weird. He's acting very weird. Alrighty, the catasetums, we have stuff to talk about here. So, the Millennium Magic, she's doing pretty well. So far, I don't see any damage with the slow-release fertilizer, and this new growth is developing nicely. She is producing roots, as you can see there, and I have another new growth on the other side. Yes, this orchid will not bloom this year, but I really hope that slow-release fertilizer will make the difference. I'm saying that because I recently repotted this guy as well. As you can see, this one is not wet, because it actually doesn't have any roots, and this is the jumbo puff. So this guy is actually two orchids. Now I'm not sure if these two pseudobulbs were connected. When I unpotted it, all the roots were dead and there was no connection in between these two pseudobulbs. I'm not sure how this happens, but this one has a new growth. Not entirely sure if you see it. It has a little nubbin of a new growth there, but the pseudobulb is plump, doesn't need water. The other pseudobulb, which is tinier, has this new growth, no new roots starting just yet, or I don't know, I didn't see. There was a root, but it was burned. The old medium was sphagnum moss and it was decomposing badly, very badly. So I cut away all the roots. I couldn't keep any. None of them were alive, but what I found in the pot was a lot of slow-release fertilizer. And in the case this orchid was actually connected, and somehow I managed to mess up that connection, you can see that from this old bulb to that one, there's quite the difference. And when we take a look at my Millennium Magic, we can see there's not much of a difference between the pseudobulbs. So it's going to be a really interesting experiment to see how the slow release will affect this orchid. And you didn't see this guy in a lot of time. This is my Fred Clarkiara After Dark. It's another black orchid. So this one has something developing here. Do you see it? It's cracking actually the sheaths. Now, it's kind of high. It might be a flower spike. It might be a new growth as well. But this orchid is still green. She is just starting to lose her leaves, but not really. They're still kind of green. So hope it's not lost that this is a flower spike. I don't know. That pseudobulb is shriveling like crazy. I still need to water this orchid. She's not dormant in any way. So that's why I'm keeping an open mind to the flower spike. We'll see. In the back there are some more orchids that I need to repot. Some more catasetums. This one has a new growth and is just coming out of the pot. It has roots as well, so I can save the roots on this guy. But as you can see, it needs to be repotted because I have a new growth. This is Orchid tetris. There we go. And there we have the Phalaenopsis. How do I film you? This is the Phalaenopsis hybrid. It is producing a new growth. I think it's a new growth or something there. This pseudobulb shrivels a lot as well, so I still need to water this orchid. She's not dormant yet, so we'll see if that's a flower spike or a new growth. And in the back there, we have the beautiful Cygnodus Wine Delight. It is losing his leaves. It is growing a new pseudobulb right there, so he will need to get repotted pretty fast. Again, the pseudobulbs are kind of shriveling on this guy, so from time to time I do offer the tiniest bit of water because I really don't want these pseudobulbs to go all shriveled and dead on me. But yeah, they're very different, as you can see. They kind of have different personalities. Actually, no, it has to do with how much dormancy they had, maybe with the specifics of the species or the hybrids. I'm not entirely sure. I do have quite the collection of catasetums, but they simply follow no rules so far. Some of them do have a sort of a dormancy, some of them don't, some of them still require water. And P.S. I heard in a video, I think from My Green Pets, that somebody suggested that new roots that develop from new growths on catasetum orchids, when they touch water, they simply stop growing. And he heard this from, I'm not entirely sure, either a forum or an AOS official, something of the sorts. I simply find it has no logic. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I'm not entirely sure if there isn't a better explanation for it, because I always kind of test the roots of my orchids, and this one, as you can see, she's growing on wet roots. I still water this one. She didn't take any dormancy. And the new roots are growing on wet roots. And yeah, no damage. And if you remember, last year I made a video on how to know when to start watering your catasetum orchids. I'll link it down below so you can see it. Anyway, in that video I was showing you that I was spraying the roots from time to time to see when they started absorbing water. And what do you know, none of them stopped growing because of the water. So, I don't know, you guys, let me know down below what you think. Have you ever experienced this? I am more inclined to think it has to do with something else. Poor ventilation, fungus, acidic media, salt buildup, or even bad quality water. I can find a ton of other reasons rather than, well, the orchid simply doesn't like it. I mean, what is the difference between a new root tip at that size and a root tip at this size? And keep in mind, I'm just referring to the root tip. There's no difference. They're not formed yet. Yes, they don't have development. But other than that, no matter the length of the root, there's no difference in the root tips. At least that's what I think. And yeah, there we go. I don't know. Let me know what your experience is, or if you know who actually said that and what their explanation is. And as for what's happening in the greenhouse, well, slowly but surely I am transferring my orchids. It's just better, really. And with some of them, I do notice root damage quite a lot, while with others, I don't see anything. And the best thing is that they do continue to grow roots anyway, regardless of the change and of the move. That's okay. So yeah, pretty much that's what's happening with my orchids right now. I do believe that the new setup will be beneficial for them. It is pretty laborious, I have to tell you, but yeah, I'm focusing on the long term, as I've mentioned a million times before. Yeah, I'm gonna put the effort now, but long term it might prove to be worth it. So alrighty guys, this was the video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to see other orchids that I didn't mention in a long time, just let me know down below, and from time to time I will make a requested video or a requested updates video. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe to my channel for daily orchids and plants videos, except Sundays. For a while I will not post on Sunday because I really need to focus on the apartment as well. But at some point I might return to Sunday videos as well. Right now it's impossible. I'm sorry. So I guess I'll see you all Monday. Thank you for watching once again. Bye. And a little update on the Amethyst glosum as well. The buds are really forming. They're kind of big. Don't know if you can see them all, too bright. So I really cannot wait for the display on this guy. I think it will be great. I have such a crush on pendant blooming types. Reason why my phals are not staked, and they will never get staked. Not sure, but most probably. So this will be a premiere for me. I cannot wait to show you this guy when he's in bloom.